Now, a new thing it is we talk about. You notice we have conversations talking about with the music industry here. We are no stranger when it comes down to that. Girl, I had to. It's okay. It's okay. Whenever it is that you stream again, I will be in the chat. I was lurking this time around. Um, but I made sure I was just like, all right, let me go ahead and let me say something, and then I'm gonna start my stream up. But hopefully, that you feel better, Danielle. But yes, so what it is a reaction to the 4 year stretch that unalived rappers or that killed rappers. But I don't want to say that because it is like the lining. Nobody got harmed in this. It's just more of just like killed their career, if you will. So without further ado, let's get into this damn video, y'all. Let's do it.
He says, I just got a call. It should be noted, many record labels have deprioritized signing rappers. The focus is now African music and Latin music. Rappers better stop being boring and talking about the same over and over, chasing TikTok's success in comment sections. What Ebro is saying is the obvious.
Understand, TikTok has ruined everything. Because an artist know the song that blow up on TikTok is not their best song, but they start putting all their energy into that song. And it's only relevant for 5 seconds on TikTok.
All of you are unoriginal. Every one of y'all is making the same thing. It's no new ideas, no new concept, it's no new sound. It's the same. It's all the same.
They using the same ad-libs, bro.
But a lot of them just be posting throwaways. They be songs like they can just hold on to and do better.
Bro, Drake, Cole, and Kendrick like 40, and we have nobody in sight to even fill the gap or the mold. It looks like we just have a bunch of A-tier rappers, and it's everybody else who they just get a club hit for like a couple of months and move on.
We don't really identify with the artist no more. Like I used to say somebody artist, I'd be like, who the fuck is that? I used to be like, you know who he is. I used to play 3 or 4 songs. I'd be like, oh, that's who made that? Whereas before, when we was coming up, we identified with an artist.
Now, take a guess who's falling off right now. Not a particular artist. I'm talking about the music industry.
Yeah, music's over.
It's over.
Streaming, bro. It's over with. But I with it, you know what I mean? It's cool. I get it, but like, it's over with.
Most artists or most new artists, at least in hip-hop, they're being made by TikTok.
We not about to sit there and shit on the fact that TikTok and Reels have now become the level of success that businesses and brands want to see. Even for myself, when it comes down to those Reels, those TikToks, those analytics, those engagements, it's now a thing that is now taken seriously as of now. But we can't deny the fact it is that TikTok is carrying when it comes down to like sounds and music and stuff like that. Especially if it's a trending sound that brings more of the level of views and engagement. So I can't say that like they're not wrong. TikTok is my Google. I swear, I live by my TikToks. Like if it's not for looking up recipes, anything that's related to feminine hygiene, that TikTok shop is really getting your girl in a chokehold, learning about new things on there. Like it's become like what Vine was. Vine was such a pivotal time where we started to know about content creation. Now, mind you, that was only a 6 or 7 second video app. Now we have things like you can go up to like 3 minutes or maybe even more when it comes down to that. But we can't deny what TikTok does. Like, come on now. Like, I hear what they're saying. They're not wrong. But academics is like, you know what I'm saying? Like I said, I don't really like academics like that. And I've already told y'all why. But, I mean, we can't shit on TikTok. I'm faithful to my TikTok. I'm still always going to be.
Everything that goes up must come down. And hip-hop is no exception to this rule. In the present day, it's extremely obvious that hip-hop is a shell of its former glory. There are fewer and fewer huge records, albums aren't hitting the way they used to, and fans are losing interest. For the past 6 months, all types of videos have been uploaded talking about how the genre is dying, and listing various theories for why this is happening.
They're not wrong. Hip hop is dying.
This time people have felt this way about the trajectory of the genre, but this time it really might be true. But in order to get to the root cause of the situation current hip hop is facing, we have to look at the years that have led us here. So in this video, we'll take a look at the downward spiral mainstream rap has found itself in over the past 4 years. years.
Okay.
These videos do take a lot of time to put together, so if you haven't hit that subscribe button, please consider doing so. We'll start in 2019 because this was the last normal year the genre had. In 2019,
Debatable.
hip hop was in a good
Debatable.
place. There was a wide variety of all different types of artists and songs seeing success.
Now I say debatable because it is. If you talk to somebody of older generations, older than myself, they will say what their everybody has their own definition of what hip hop had died out to them. But that's why it is that I said debatable, because I'm pretty sure anybody in the chat can able to say different years to that. But hey, listen, let's move forward.
And the fans were engaged with everything. There were a good number of Billboard Top 10 hits, like Suge by The Baby, Tatiana by Blueface, Ransom by Lil Tecca, Bandit by Juice WRLD and NBA Youngboy, and the most sold record in the history of music, Old Town Road. Outside of Billboard Top 10, there were plenty of other huge records that contributed to the excitement rap had at the time, and these included songs like Shotta Flow by NLE Choppa, Act Up by the City Girls, Ballin' by DJ Mustard and Roddy Ricch, and Welcome to the Party in Dior by Pop Smoke. There was an exciting crop of new stars, including people like Lil Baby, Gunna, DaBaby, Juice WRLD, Meg Thee Stallion, Pop Smoke, Roddy Ricch, Polo G, Lil TJ.
You think we're pushing out the wrong artist?
And hip hop was in an exciting
You're not wrong.
space. TikTok had just started blowing up, and the success of Old Town Road had proven it could be a powerful marketing tool. Towards the end of the year, the genre had experienced a tragedy when Juice WRLD lost his life at the young age of 21.
R.I.P. to him.
But besides this, 2019 was an overall good year.
First turn nigga from the hood, they curious. Spoil and cry about 5 and jury. I get the comments with number this period. I got your B on one put on the mirror.
2020 started off regular. The Box by Roddy Ricch saw crazy success and dominated the charts early on.
Did.
In February, tragedy struck when Pop Smoke lost his life in a Cali Airbnb
R.I.P. to
at the young
dang.
age of 20.
R.I.P. to Pop
About a
Smoke.
week after this, Lil Baby dropped My Turn, which did numbers, and to this day is probably his best album ever. Shortly after My Turn, Uzi shocked everybody and surprise dropped his long-awaited album, Eternal A Tape, which did well, but left some fans disappointed and was
like
the
the album.
beginning of people wanting the quote-unquote old Uzi back. Eternal A Tape was an early example of a new trend. Labels were starting to implement a new strategy where they had artists drop an album, then 2 weeks later release a deluxe album with an entire album worth of new songs to maximize the streams. Since 2017, streaming had become the #1 source of label revenue, and as the years passed, they had continued to try to figure out how to maximize the new model. Shortly after Eternal A Tape, the whole world was put on standstill when COVID hit, forcing everyone into quarantine. Quarantine was a weird time for everyone, especially rappers who now found themselves stuck at home, unable to do shows. Some people took advantage of the opportunity to do new things with the large audience stuck inside. Tory Lanez started a regular IG live stream that he called Quarantine Radio, and Swizz Beatz and Timbaland started Versus, a head-to-head competition between hip-hop and R&B artists that started on Facebook and IG Live. And later,
if y'all was, I know people talk about with Tory's IG Live. I was also used to watch his lives as well. But if you was in Boosie's live and see the just I would be in there lurking. And the verses, I'm sorry, I was watching the verses. I put the verses up on my TV screen. That's how bad it was. We made best of the situation of being in quarantine, and stuff of streaming. It really started to be pushed things in 2020. I was about to say 2000, Jesus, in 2020. So, you seen the most horrendous shit on his lives, bro. And I'm just like, hey, listen, the verses was a time. It really was. It really, really was. I enjoyed it. I kind of miss it, to be honest with you.
To real venues. As far as the actual music release, albums from some of the biggest rappers during quarantine included Blame It On Baby by The Baby, Wanna by Gunna, The GOAT by Polo G, High Off Life by Future, and Sugar by Meg Thee Stallion. Similarly to 2019, 2020 also had a lot of big hits. Lil Baby, riding out the success of My Turn, had two of the biggest records of 2020 with We Paid featuring 42 Doug and The Bigger Picture. Life is Good by Future and Drake and Rockstar by The Baby and Roddy Ricch were also Billboard Top 10 hits. And the most talked about and controversy generating record of the year, WAP by Meg Thee Stallion and Cardi B, also made a ton of noise. In 2020, Meg's name was also hot from a situation that occurred with her and Tory Lanez, as well as two other people, where she was shot in the foot. She said that Tory was responsible, and Tory said he wasn't, and the situation got tons of media coverage and was one of the biggest topics of that entire year. From 2019 to 2020, TikTok's influence had continued to grow, and the platform was now a legitimate new path to having a hot record. New artists were popping on the regular, and the term TikTok rapper was starting to become a thing. More established artists were also taking advantage of the new platform to blow their songs up as well. Unfortunately, the rise of TikTok also came with negative side effects. And as a result of the way content was consumed, rappers began making songs shorter and more repetitive in an effort to potentially get TikTokers to make viral challenges to their song. Drake was one of the first big artists to be called out for this when he dropped Tootsie Slide. In late 2020, King Von lost his life in an altercation with Quando Rondo in Atlanta.
R.I.P. to him.
And Playboi Carti dropped Whole Lotta Red, a long-awaited album that received.
I feel like when people, we talked about this with Joe Budden, getting on Drake about, oh, like you're doing TikTok and this, and this. As anybody within doing even just with streaming, music industry and stuff like that, and especially if you've been in this game for years on end, you're not going to do the same business strategy as what it is you did in the beginning. If you are doing that, you're not going to get the sales. We've talked about this before. We've talked about this. You have to kind of cater to the younger audience, because the younger audience is what's going to give you the sales, the streams, and everything like that. Blase, blase. What's up, Sean? How are you? But I mean, like, Drake, as much as it is that people like to get on him, he's very he's business savvy. He understands the level of the industry. He understands if you have the attention of the younger audience, you're good. You already have people it is that that knew who he was from like 10 years ago when it is you started, X, Y, and Z, blase, blase. But how do you change that? How do you not only cater to that audience, but you also cater to the younger audience as well? You have to do that within business. And this is why I always say it is when it comes down to the YouTube streaming, music industries, and everything like that. Yeah, you need to understand business aspect that comes with this. It goes hand in hand with everything it is that you do. You know what I'm saying? That's why he hangs out with Little Yachty. And when I hear a Whitney Houston song on TikTok and I listen to it public, like someone walks up to me and said, I love that TikTok song. It makes me rock their shit. What helps the artist more, TikToks or Twitch streams? Both. Essentially, it is you like whatever it is that gets the streams, that's what it is somebody's going to do. Right? And now that you have people like Kai, for instance, we just watched the video talking about how anybody that listens to a song it is that Kai put onto his stream, it's like there's an effect with it. It's kind of like the Keith Lee effect, right? We've talked about this before. So it's the same. It's literally the same thing. Some people was against being on TikTok about with their streams and stuff like that, but it boosted the song. Look at, for example, Doja Cat with "Say So." "Say So" was plastered every single where on TikTok at one point. And that girl didn't even like the song "Say So" after a while. They kept making her perform the song, and she hated the damn song, bro. But it was plastered all over TikTok. You get what I'm saying? So it's to me, I'm gonna say it's both to answer your question.
Received mixed reviews. One of the more unexpected trends of 2020 was the extreme rate that podcasts began growing.
She
in
promised to show
popularity.
titties and that bitch
Up into
lied.
2020, there were already a few established podcasts like the JBP and Drink Champs. But
King Rock, you're not wrong by saying that like TikTok is a short form of content and it has been a decline of hip hop content. You're not wrong for saying that. You're not wrong. That's why like a lot of artists they was against it because it's short and all that. Although TikTok has changed quite a bit when it first originally started out. Now even for posting up videos, I know Philly and we had a conversation talking about this for like literally hours yesterday. People now and it's even on YouTube. Now people want longer vids. We're seeing this like me, Simba, Mikey, Aaron, Philly, True, CJ. We've all talked about this before that YouTube videos that people like longer vids now. People are liking the TikToks more than 1 minute now. People are liking a compilation of a playlist on YouTube, and it's just like it's let's say for example, it's like 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, and stuff like that, and you still get good analytics from that. It's changing quite a bit. So, but you're not wrong, King Rock. You're not wrong. I agree with you.
A whole new wave of pods joined in the period between 2019 and 2020, including shows like $1 Million Worth of Game, Big Facts, and the Expeditiously podcast. In 2020, the podcast space began.
Do I think the rap genre is dying?
More and more people began listening to podcasts, and more rappers, athletes, and other types of celebrities began starting new ones. 2020 was unorthodox, but definitely not a bad year for rap. But 2021 would be the first major indicator that things were slowing down.
This song already was turned, but here's a bell. Everything that I know is rich as hell.
In early 2021, one name started
hip hop's
popping
always
up
changing.
everywhere.
It's always changing.
Pooh Shiesty had begun buzzing in late 2020 off his hit record Back in Blood featuring Lil Durk. By 2021, this record was everywhere, and Shiesty was one of rap's biggest up-and-coming stars. Another emerging artist during this time was Coi Leray, who was buzzing off of her hit record No More Parties, as well as the fact that she was an easy punching bag for internet trolls. Early 2021 also saw a deadly beef spilling over into rap when Young and Ace, Spinna Benz, Wappa with the Chopper, and Fast Money Goon released a song called Who I Smoke, missing a ton of their deceased ops on a catchy pop sample. A combination that led to the song going crazy, racking up tens of millions of views and becoming a viral hit.
Crazy.
Early 2021 had a decent amount of motion, but as the year
right,
progressed,
Sean?
an alarming
I feel the
trend
same way.
began to emerge.
Like, damn.
Throughout the year, plenty of albums dropped from the biggest artists in the game, but the music wasn't hitting the same, and the fans weren't receptive to it. Polo G dropped Hall of Fame, Migos dropped Culture 3, and Roddy Ricch dropped Live Life Fast, but all of these projects
R.I.P.
were
Takeoff
mid by the majority of listeners. Lil Baby and Lil Durk's collab album, Voice of the Heroes, and J. Cole's mixtape, The Off Season, were received slightly better, but Tyler, the Creator, probably had the best project of the year with Call Me If You Get Lost, a great body of music that was received well by fans. In July, the baby went to Rolling Loud and did this.
You didn't show up today with HIV, AIDS, any of them deadly sexually transmitted diseases that'll make you die in 2-3 weeks. Put a cell phone like that up. Fellas, lights up. Fellas, if you ain't sucking in the parking lot, put your cell phone like that. Let's be real.
He got the usual cancel culture treatment, including a bunch of blog posts and angry tweets. But things went a step further than usual, and festivals began removing him from their lineups, affecting his money. From summer to fall of 2021, one of the biggest storylines in hip-hop for the entire year began to develop. Both Drake and Kanye announced they were dropping albums and then began escalating their beef. Kanye built the hype around
Dang,
Donda,
Drake, you been beefing with a
doing
lot of
listening events in
niggas.
several cities throughout the summer
But
before
both
dropping the
albums was
album
fire.
August 29th. Drake followed, dropping Certified Lover Boy a week later. Despite the hype around these
Both albums was fire. I'm sorry. They both, oh God, they both was good. Donda and Certified Lover Boy, both masterpieces. I said this last week. We reacted to a video, something similar to this. But both of them Drake and Kendrick Lamar beef explained. Both of those albums was good. They were good. Like both just masterpieces, man. Damn.
projects, most people ended up coming to the conclusion that both albums were underwhelming, just like most of the other music coming out in 2021.
Underwhelming?
The trend of TikTok popularized songs
know about that.
continued, and things were so easy that even Soulja Boy, who hadn't been relevant for anything related to his music in over a decade, popped out with not just one, but two viral TikTok hits. The easy virality on TikTok was allowing tons of new artists to blow up on a regular basis, but because there were so many, this meant
not much
that nothing
diversity.
was really sticking. There was just a rotating window giving countless artists 5 seconds of fame, then moving on to the next. So, a unique situation was developing where, despite it being easier than ever for songs to blow up, there were fewer and fewer new artists with the same excitement DaBaby, NLE Choppa, Pop Smoke, and others had just a few years prior. Given the fact that no new artists were blowing up on a major scale, and none of the existing artists were delivering the way they did in the past, the charts reflected that mainstream hip-hop was in a lull, with Billboard Top 10 hits experiencing a significant decline from the previous year. Mainstream hip-hop was clearly declining, but there was one artist able to cut through the TikTok noise and blow up on a huge scale. In late summer, an artist called Yeet started buzzing off a song called Sorry About That went crazy on TikTok.
I need the Max Ween.
Then he followed this up with an even bigger one called Get Busy. With these viral hits, he was arguably the biggest new artist of 2021, even receiving a cosign from Drake. Yeet was part of a new wave in a subgenre referred to as rage, and other artists like King Carson,
What's up, John? How are you?
Destroy Lonely were all new
These
artists
emotes
in
are
this lane,
crazy.
blowing up the same year, seeing more traction than the typical artist on TikTok. Also, up in New York, Bronx Drill was blowing up with artists like K-Flock, B-Love, and Ethan doing numbers leading the underground scene. So overall, 2021 was a bad year for the mainstream, but it was good for a few underground niches. 2021 was also good for another form of entertainment that was just starting to touch the hip-hop world. Streaming had been a thing for years, but it was something mainly for gamers.
That's Sakai, Duke, and iPod Carter.
In 2021, people like Kai Cenat, Duke Dennis, Aiden Ross, Your Age, and Bruce Drop 'Em Off popularized streaming with a different demographic that aligned more with the audience of hip-hop consumers. With the decline of hip-hop, a lot of kids and teenagers who in previous years would have been hardcore rap fans were now turning to streamers as their primary source of entertainment and looking up to streamers the way kids in the past looked up to rappers. Aiden Ross's streams ended up getting so big that through 2021, he had a lot of the biggest rappers out lining up to come on and promote their music on his platform. Going into 2022, hip-hop's mainstream drought would continue. Gunna would start the year off strong, dropping Diaz Forever, a solid project with the breakout hit, Pushin' P. It was a good project, but an example of how streaming had been continuing to affect the length of albums. Diaz Forever was 20 songs long by itself with no deluxe.
What's up, Earl? How are you?
The new length of albums meant that mediocre songs that wouldn't have made the cut in previous years were slipping through the cracks for the sheer purpose of increasing streaming time. Lil Durk's 7220 album was a perfect example of this, containing 31 songs in total, 17 in the original, and 14 additional ones on the deluxe version. In April, Pusha Ice-T was sentenced to 5 years.
I was gonna say 31 songs on an album is
considering the possible time he could have received, but still meant hip-hop would be losing one of his newest stars early into his career. Then in May, the whole hip-hop world was caught by surprise when Young Thug, Gunna, and 26 other members of YSL were indicted in a RICO case that stretched back almost a decade.
Still going on.
This same month, Kendrick returned from a 5-year hiatus, dropping Mr. Morale, an album which was successful,
You're good, Terrence,
but not at the level of his previous albums.
Ooh, this album, I'm sorry. This Kendrick album is just fire. This album, although it is, I learned quite a bit from Drake and Kendrick Lamar video explained. I learned a lot about with their beef, but Kendrick, I can say it is a conscious rapper, but this album is just so good. It's so good. I gotta listen to it again. I have to listen to it again from start to finish. It was just a fire album, and of course, doing that listening album into the Discord VC, it was just, I'm like, I gotta listen to it again. You know,
was successful, but not at the level of his previous albums. Future also dropped "I Never Liked You," an album which saw
my man's putting a personal bias within his statements.
Going #1 on Billboard. 2022 also saw the rise of a few new faces. In July, a Memphis artist called Glorilla blew up off a song called F&F. Then, in late summer, a song called Munch by an artist named Ice Spice started blowing up on TikTok. It was initially taken
people call
as
it
a joke,
ass,
but it grew on people, and Ice Spice continued dropping and growing her popularity. In late 2022, Kanye went on his most career-damaging rampage ever, which all started with the picture he took with Candace Owens wearing a White Lives Matter t-shirt. After this, he made an appearance on Drink Champs, where he said that George Floyd OD'd on fentanyl and announced that he had problems with a group of people he referred to as the Jewish higher-ups. He received strong backlash, but being Kanye, he doubled down on his stance.
Ice Spice comes from drill music from New York, so
to make more and
you're
more
not wrong for saying that.
Statements that the media was having a field day reporting on. Eventually, things would end up getting to the point where he was dropped from his Adidas deal. Meanwhile,
he was getting dropped
in late
from a lot of deals.
2022, on the music scene, Lil Baby dropped It's Only Me, his first solo album since My Turn. And the album had an underwhelming response and was yet another example
My mother's
of
calling
an
me.
album optimized for streaming instead of quality.
I'll call her back.
In December, Drake and 21 Savage teamed up to drop a collab tape titled Her Loss, which ended up being a very successful release. Also in December, Gunna accepted a plea deal.
I'm gonna call her back once I'm done with the recording.
A video came out about what he had admitted to get this deal.
YSL is a music label and a gang, and you have personal knowledge that members or associates of YSL have committed crimes in furtherance of the gang.
Yes, ma'am.
You were present when law enforcement officers stopped the vehicle in which you were present along with Jeffrey Williams, wherein high and a firearm were recovered. These items did not belong to you.
Yes, ma'am.
Some people argued it was in a gray area that wasn't technically snitching, but the majority of hip-hop labeled him a rat, and most of his former rapper friends unfollowed him and distanced themselves, the most notable being Lil Baby. The Gunna situation was one of the biggest things to happen in hip-hop that year, and this was more evidence of the genre's decline in popularity. Meanwhile, the growing appetite for podcasts and streaming continued, with the biggest podcasts and streamers growing at a crazy rate. In 2022, Kai Cenat took the place of Aiden Ross when it came to having the biggest rappers on his stream, bringing people like Blueface and Krishan Rock, Ice Spice, Lil Baby, and 21 Savage. In 2023, mainstream rap slump became extremely obvious. Very few artists even dropped music. The first notable albums didn't come until summer. In June, Uzi returned from a 3-year hiatus and dropped the Pink Tape, another album with way too many songs that came and went like the majority of other albums from the previous 2 years.
Still fucked with it though.
This same month, Gunna released The Gift and the Curse, his first
think
album.
it's a trash album?
Told and came home. In order to keep the fans on his side, he had to drop a banger, and this was exactly what he did, delivering a quality album with no features. In July, Travis Scott dropped his long-awaited album Utopia, which was extremely successful, doing 500,000 units the first week. Besides A Gift and
My
a
day was
Curse
good.
and
How was
Utopia,
your day?
most of 2023's mainstream albums were mediocre, and projects like Almost Healed by Lil Durk, Hard to Love by Moneybagg Yo, and Set It Off by Offset came and went. 2023 also didn't see any new artists going nearly as viral as Ice Spice, Glorilla, Yeet, or Pooh Shiesty did in 2022 and 2021. The most viral new artist of 2023 was Sexy Red, who began trending towards the later half of the year. By this point, it was undeniable that things were definitely in a
Damn, we
slump
big
for
hating
the
tonight.
genre, and YouTube channels began
Right.
popping out left and right, talking about how hip-hop was dying and speculating the true reason behind it. The answer can be seen by looking at the last 4 years. There's no one specific reason, and a variety of factors have contributed to the decline.
That I do agree on.
Up-and-coming stars got locked up or passed. Many artists began making music focusing on streaming numbers or TikTok success instead of quality music. There wasn't much innovation to the mainstream sound, and as a result, things began to feel like the majority of producers were making the same beat over and over, and rappers were making the same song again and again. The trendy 15-second clip virality of TikTok made it harder for artists to build an actual fan base, and as a result, more artists experienced the trend of having 5 seconds of their song blow up for a couple of weeks and then being irrelevant in a matter of months. And as a result of all the music being cycled through on a regular basis, artists not making music optimized for social media struggled to cut through all the noise. All of this turned into fans losing interest in rap music, and while hip-hop music has been declining, podcasts and live streaming have been skyrocketing, taking up the attention formerly reserved for music. Streamers are getting NBA-sized contracts and building fan bases that match the loyalty of artists like XXXTentacion and NBA Youngboy. The youth has always fueled hip-hop, but these days they're more interested in watching Twitch and Kick. This is definitely not the end of hip-hop.
But can you blame the people though? I will say this, although it is Twitch was on here for quite some time, but Twitch literally blossomed in 2020. Now I have to go ahead and give credit to the great citizens that I know, Berlin, Dante, there's so many other people it is who was doing the level of content, even Simba, that were also reacting to music first before it is that they started, reacting to other things and doing gaming and stuff like that. But it's something, it is like when students or when kids, they go to school and they're just like, yo, did you see that stream last night? Did you see Kai Cenat stream as of last night? Did you see I'm Dante stream as of last night? You know what I'm saying? It's gotten to that level of push, Now people look up to the streams. It's entertainment, a level of getting to know people within the chat and everything. I always talk about that here. It's here as well. Like us streamers, we play such a part within this. You know what I'm saying? There's such a responsibility, and it's very honoring to have that and to see that happening within communities and stuff. I will never take away from the euphoric feeling of streaming. I love to stream. And a lot of people look at this as like a dream job, you know. A lot of people look at Kai and everybody else and just like, dang, you know, like the streams are so much fun. That gives motivation, but that gives such a level of a fan base that is such a celebrity status at this point, you know? And I talk about this all the time. Like I always say this that you should have a team, you should have like solid people that's around you to know how to handle that because there's a lot of, you know, we've seen levels of beefs, we've seen levels of like people not being able to handle that level of status it is that they get up to. But man, when I say it is that there's a song that's played on stream and that gets introduced to people within the chat, it now is just like, yo, who made that song? Who made that song? Which is why I'm always playing Trickster's songs. Like Zom as well. There's so many people it is that come from that is within the community and the people it is that I know that puts out beats and everything like that, that I'm going to always put out there because if it's something it is that people like, they're going to be like, all right, what's the link for that? You know, just even on a smaller scale, it does this. So streaming does help when it comes down to music industries. And again, TikTok does the same thing. Now, I agree with everybody else where it's like, you know, TikTok is now dumbing it down, but like I said before, TikTok, YouTube, and now it's getting back to like longer, lengthy videos and stuff. Now, some people may not have the attention span to go ahead and go through an entire long video like that. Some people, like, for instance, I used to be in PG streams all the time before it is I was a mod. Before I started being active into the chat, I'll have his stream up on the big, like, you know, TV and stuff like that. And then I'll be doing something in the background, you know what I'm saying? Just lurking, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of people do that. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know? But it does help out with the views. This when you get the chance to look at Ramonda's stream title, I got you. Man, once you get past his annoying voice, you'll realize the West Side Gun and pretty much all of speak like a motherfucker.
Hip-hop,
You're not
but
wrong.
it may be the end of his chokehold on the mainstream.
W
And we
reactors,
may never see
W to
hip-hop
like the
regain
greats, you know?
chokehold it's had on
Because I
pop
wouldn't be doing
culture
this if it wasn't
over
for
the
them.
past decade or so. The genre's had a great run, but nothing lasts forever.
This was a solid video. You know, I understand it is like, you know, new school story. Shout outs to you. You had a little bit of personal bias in there when it comes down to certain albums, but nonetheless, a W video, W reaction for sure. W you guys in the chat and W y'all at home. I will catch y'all in the next video.